This is Duke University.
All black, everything, everything black, culture over everything, y'all, we taking it back, black.
Welcome to Left of Black. I'm your host, Anthony Neal, and we're joined today by Cicely Mitchell, who is the president and founder of the Art of Cool Festival here in Durham, North Carolina. How are you doing today, Cicely?
Good, good.
Talk about Art of Cool. It sounds like you're trying to create a scene here in Durham, North Carolina.
The scene has always been here. The point of Art of Cool, we're a jazz presenting nonprofit located here in downtown Durham. We started back in 2011. And the whole point, like I said, the scene has always been here, has been to be an advocate for the jazz musicians and for the jazz scene that's already here, to be able to bring their story to the forefront and, you know, to connect the music with the people.
The festival is April the 25th through the 26th here in Durham, North Carolina.
Right, it's a 2-day festival. So
how many venues will you have involved?
We have 8, 2 are outdoor, so one at American Tobacco on the lawn behind DPAC, and then another one at Durham Central Park. And then the other 6 locations are still downtown, but they're indoor locations.
There are no shortages of music festivals
right,
in the country. Even around jazz, when you think about the success of what used to be like the JVC Jazz Festival or Newport and places like that, you know, what does the Art of Cool bring to the table that's unique?
Well, there is a shortage of jazz and soul festivals here in this area. So that's the unique portion of it. It's very similar to another music festival in Raleigh called Hopscotch. So the style of it is we're going to jump around from place to place, those 8 locations. And so what makes it unique is the people who are the headliners and the focal point are, I guess you would call kind of underground jazz, progressive soul artists. And so most of these people are usually openers to the big festivals like at Essence or whatever. So this is a platform for independent, mostly independent, progressive jazz and soul artists, which is a little different from the Essence and the Jazz Fest in New Orleans.
Your top billing is Maceo Parker.
Right.
Talk about how important it was to get a figure like Maceo and what kind of historical legacy, you know, he really brings to this festival.
Yes, he was the perfect person, at least to tell the story of the festival. We really want to highlight North Carolina legends as the festival progresses over the years. So we wanted someone funky, approachable, still had jazz roots, jazz and soul roots, and so Maceo is from Kinston, North Carolina. He carries on the legacy of funk and jazz funk from the James Brown era. Used to play with James Brown, and so he carries on that legacy. A lot of that was sampled in the early days of hip hop, and so we really wanted to, one of the points is to expand the audience for jazz, and so we thought Maceo would be the perfect person to kick off this first year festival.
Talk about acknowledging this North Carolina legacy of soul music. You're going to do a special show in which you're paying tribute to 4 particular North Carolina artists. Talk about that tribute show.
So we're doing something called Carolina Soul, which will highlight 4 North Carolina legends, John Coltrane, Thelonious Monk, Roberta Flack, and Nina Simone, all of which were born in North Carolina. A lot of people know their names. A lot of people may not know that they have North Carolina ties. And so that's what this festival is about as well, giving homage to, you know, those who've come before. You know, we're standing on their shoulders to be able to even, you know, bring this to light. But also highlighting, you know, current jazz and soul players in this area as well. About half the bill is local, and then the other half is national. But the tribute concert really is a special thing, almost Grammy style, where you're giving homage to these legends, but we will have special guests come out and perform as that particular legend. So it's a lot of fun. We definitely think that, you know, this will be a pillar of part of what this festival is about for years to come.
You're watching Left to Black. I'm your host, Mark Anthony Neal. We're joined here today in the John Hope Franklin Center with Cicely Mitchell, who is the co-founder of the Art of Cool Festival, which will be here in Durham, North Carolina, April 25th through 26th. Durham's in an interesting kind of space these days.
Right.
You know, I'm sure 10 years ago, no one would have imagined, you know, Durham being what it is now, whether we're talking about a music festival like the Art of Cool, but you know, what we've seen is this explosion of restaurants. You know, Durham has this reputation now as being a kind of foodie town.
Yeah.
How important or how difficult was it, or even a challenge, to get the city of Durham to buy into the idea of the Art of Cool?
It wasn't much of a challenge. I think a lot of the groundwork had already been laid as far as this being known as a creative city. I think we came along at the right time. I know about 8 to 10 years ago, there was a faction of people that wanted to start a jazz festival, but I don't know if it was the right timing.
Yeah.
But with DPAC being as successful as it is, where people...
And there's a Durham Performing Arts Center.
Yes, the Durham Performing Arts Center, and also with the Carolina Theater on its resurgence. I think both of them within the past year have been in the top 100 as far as Polestar with ticket sales. So people are really looking at this area as, you know, a creative town, whether it's for arts, entertainment, food. Right. You know, we were in the tech incubator for Startup Stampede. So I think we've just our idea came along at the right time. Yeah.
And the festival is coming just a few weeks after Full Frame.
Right.
You know, one of the most well-known documentary film festivals here in the country that's been, you know, here in Durham for 17 years. So it's like, yeah, it's a scene.
Yeah, it's a scene. It's a very creative scene. And so one thing I can definitely say about Durham is very supportive of organizations, young organizations that have fresh, you know, hip ideas, and as long as you're willing to go out and work for it, you know, the city supports it. People like American Tobacco, Blue Cross, PNC are all behind us.
So if we go to Lincoln Center, if we go up to Winton's shop,
right,
and we see some of the acts that are coming across stage, and we look into the audience,
okay.
you know, what we're going to see is a kind of a dramatic disconnect, right?
Yes.
And I know that Winton's been trying to address these issues. Many folks, when they think about jazz music, they think about jazz as an older genre, right, for an older audience,
right,
increasingly a white audience, right? And then, of course, there's a perception that young black folks in general, you know, aren't listening to jazz, right? And if they are, it's some sort of watered down, smooth jazz thing.
Correct.
You know, you've heard all the critiques.
That's the landscape. That's the landscape.
And in some ways, the acts that you're bringing together here are really kind of playing with these fixed notions of what jazz is, of what soul music is. I mean, you have jazz artists who are comfortable in soul context. You have soul artists and funk artists who are comfortable in kind of a jazz context. So let's talk about a few of these artists. I mean, the one that stands out to me, of course, is Miguel Atwood Ferguson. Right. You know, who hip hop heads mostly know from his work of doing this incredible, you know, kind of string arrangement of the music of
the 60-piece ensemble.
60-piece ensemble of the work of J.D. Dilla, Mr. Yancey, the late Mr. Yancey.
Right.
Talk about a choice like Miguel Atwood Ferguson. You know,
he
for
was,
this festival.
you know, carefully curated. So the whole lineup is carefully curated to do just that. Start a conversation about jazz and soul, and kind of turn it on its ear, right? In order to expand the audience for jazz, we are going to have to tap into a younger and more diverse generation of people, and so that's what we did by curating this lineup. So using Miguel Atwood Ferguson as a good platform, of course, we want to you know, present the Carolina Soul tributes in a respectful manner, but then we also want to do it, you know, Art of Cool style, which is not the traditional style, you know, because we could have gotten a large big band to go and do these arrangements, and that would have been just fine. But what we decided to do was to commission Miguel Atwood Ferguson to take 8 arrangements by, you know, the artists and make it an orchestral piece.
And you ain't going to tell us what the 8 pieces are you?
No, we're not. Actually, you know, he has chosen them. You know, one of our guest artists who is stepping in as Roberta Flack, of course, has chosen "Killing Me Softly," so we know that "Killing Me Softly" will be one of them. But so we're very excited to be bringing this, and hopefully this will be one of the like I said, the pillars or the thing that everyone is talking about, coming out of the festival.
If I had a description for looking at some of the acts, right, and we're talking about folks like the Foreign Exchange. Team Freelon,
right. Team
including
Freelon.
Maya Asante Freelon, and of course the great Nina Freelon, and then Pierce Freelon and his band, The Beast. Shauna Tucker, who's a friend of the show, and her idea of chamber soul. The word that comes up is eclectic.
Yes.
And there's a way in which I think it's almost easier to market eclectic black music to a young white audience, right? If you think about the Roots and the success of the Roots, right?
I think, the Roots is a great example of kind of, the type of act that would be great for an Art of Cool festival, only because they have that, marketable appeal in, a very diverse, young, old, black, white. But I think it's because, just taking black thought out of it, the band itself could stand on its own as a really good, jazz soul band.
But how do you market eclectic black music to black people, and particularly black folks who primarily consume music or have any sense of new music on the radio? You can't hear Alice Smith on the radio. Bilal, even when he was on a major label,
he was still underground.
Right, you couldn't hear Bilal on black radio.
Yeah.
What's the challenge of trying to present such an incredible eclectic set of black music and hope that you can really connect beyond the folks, right, who are listening to folks on the internet and are just kind of hitched in terms of alternative music already.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about the 55-year-old, right, who actually does love himself some soul music,
right,
and might love Maxwell, right, but hasn't made the leap to say like an Eric Roberson or somebody like that, how do you get their attention?
So there are a couple of ways. Like I said, we've been working on this for 2 years. Yeah. And so we've been doing pop-up concerts, in non-traditional spaces, whether we started out at Labor Love, at art galleries. So, taking this music and putting it in, non-traditional spaces was one way, and to get almost like a Pied Piper type of following, where wherever we pop up, people would then show up. And it's been more of an underground thing as well. So if you're cool, about, what's going on with Art of Cool. Last year we kind of broke out a little bit and presented people like Hiatus Coyote, who, was nominated for a Grammy this past year. Everybody was like, who are these people? And next thing you know, they're nominated for a Grammy. Same thing, we helped with presenting Snarky Puppy, who just won a Grammy. So we're starting to get a reputation of kind of being a tastemaker, of who's up and coming. You may not have heard of them before, but this is probably your one and only chance to see them in an intimate environment before they, blow up, and the next thing you know, they're playing, huge stadiums. So that's one thing about how we're curating all of this, is we want people to have intimate experiences. Bilal and Alice Smith and Amel LaRue will all be in Hayti, which, is a tiny space for them to be presented, but those people who do get to attend will have this amazing experience in the, an old renovated church. So that's kind of what Art of Cool is about. But being able to connect this music through, we have an online radio station that is embedded within our site called The Lineup, and every week we have our blog editor change it out with this music. So we try to make it accessible, through our online radio, through our pop-up concerts. And just, we've done 4th of July last year with the Beast, and it's big band, so it's, almost kind of roots style of music. So that's the way we're trying to connect it. We also partner with Duke Performances, with Carolina Theater when there's jazz, just to spread the word. So had to do it in, many ways, but then also, on our Facebook we try to let people know that Cody Chestnut, did a song with the Roots back in the day. Bilal has worked with Robert Glasper. So sometimes we do it by mind mapping as well.
Yeah. So. You're watching Left of Black. We're joined today by Cicely Mitchell, who's a co-founder of the Art of Cool Festival, which will be here in Durham, North Carolina, April 25th and 26th. So you curated all these incredible acts together.
Yes.
You must have a favorite.
Oh, wow. I will say probably my favorite, the one that I'm looking forward to is Thundercat. I've kind of been hoping, like in past years, that Hopscotch would bring Thundercat and Flying Lotus. We did get a chance to book Thundercat for this, and so I rarely get a chance to like dance, and I playingly say with the board that this will be the one that I'm like crowd surfing and really cutting loose. Because Thundercat is an amazing bass player, and he's played with Suicidal Tendencies. He's done a lot of work with Flying Lotus, and also he's the bass player for Erykah Badu. And so he has 2 amazing solo albums, and I'm very excited. So I would say he's probably of the list. That's I'm definitely going to be there, but I'm a fan of everybody that's on the list. I'm sure I'll fill out my schedule at some point, but Thundercat is up there for me. So.
The Art of Cool Festival, Durham, North Carolina, April 25th to 26th. We've been joined today by Cicely Mitchell, who's a co-founder of the Art of Cool Festival. Thank you for joining us, Cicely.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Black lights and booze burn when I record for Watts, and every black like Troy Davis who never had a fair shot.